This conference will
Next
now be
tag is
recorded.
figure tag. Use it to display an image with some description. I want to display an image along with the description. For example, this is some image, and below that I want to provide some description about the particular picture. We can do that by using figure. Let's check in the program. First, HTML head body syntax is same. We require to save it in a particular location, that is C:/HTML. And into this current working folder, we have to place an image file. Any image is required. For example, we have an image called pulpit.jpg. I want to display this image. So copy and paste it in the C:/HTML folder and display it by using img tag. Now that images appear in the web page. But now I want to provide a description that will be logically related to this image. So we have to keep it inside the figure tag. Inside the figure tag, we have to place the img tag. Then fig caption. Then its description. For example, it is Pulpit Rock in Norway. So just exactly below the picture, the description will be appear, and also you can see some gap automatically maintained, some margin. And one more benefit of this is now the Google-like search engines can identify this type of fig caption. So whenever somebody search in Google like pulpit or Norway, automatically this image also will be one of the results in the Google. Assume that we have used this concept in a live website. Suppose our website name is abc.com. So whenever somebody search in Google like pulpit, somebody search in Google like pulpit and click on images, automatically our image also will be displayed. Our website image also will be one of the results here. Okay, because this word is matching with this fig caption. But it happens really when you upload your website into server, I mean when you host it. There is a purpose behind it. So indirectly this tag helps the search engines to easily identify the information about it. Next tag is, we have already covered details and summary tag, right? Next, progress tag. It is used to display progress of a task. For example, uploading progress, downloading progress, any kind of progress if you want to display, then we have to use progress tag. Earlier, to create the progress bar, a lot of complex HTML, CSS logic you have to write. But now it is not required. Just we can use a ready-made tag like progress. So just we are going to create a new program. Progress.html. Progress tag, that's all. Automatically, this will create a progress bar in your application. That's all. Use this progress bar if you want to display any kind of progress of downloading or uploading, suppose file attachment. In these cases, we use progress bar. You can also specify the minimum value and maximum value. For example, 0 to 100. Out of 0 to 100, the current value, for example, 40, which indicates out of 0 to 100, 40% completed. We can increase this value, for example, 70. Now it means 70% increased. We can programmatically increase this. Generally, progress bar means what do you expect? This progress bar should automatically animate. It should automatically change, right? That is really possible only through JavaScript. So when we go to JavaScript, you will know how to change the value dynamically. So then you can animate this with the combination of JavaScript code. But as of our level of HTML, we can do like this. So next, we have one more tag like meter tag. It is used to display disk usage. For example, you take this one. So out of the 116 GB of my hard disk, this much free space available, this much full, right? So this kind of information can be presented by using meta tag. See, this is not a progress bar. It is not a process of uploading or downloading. It's a process of disk usage. Out of 100%, how much process completed right now? Not process, how much task is completed, we can say. So for another example, there is a salesman and his monthly target is 10,000 sales. 10,000 products should be made, but he completed only 6,000 as of now. So this type of information is nothing but meter, but not progress. So just we are going to create meter tag. Just like progress, we are going to provide the meter tag. Now we can see the meter tag. It is not a progress bar, it's a meter which indicates the disk usage. Next tag is okay. Next one, doc type. It is used to specify which version of HTML that you are using in the current HTML file. In our current HTML file, which version of HTML that you are going to use, you can specify by using the doc type. Doc type is a special statement. It is called a directive. It is not a tag. It is a directive. All the directives must be at the top of the file. And for every version of HTML, we have a separate doc type. In case if you want to use HTML4, we have to place this doc type at the top of the file. Means here. At the top of the file, by placing this, what do you mean? You are ready to use HTML4. The rest of the program entirely top to bottom, you are going to use HTML4. But in case if you want to use HTML5, we have to just give this part. This is the doc type for HTML5. Presently, most of the real websites already upgraded to HTML5. That's why you will be able to notice this one in most of the websites. For example, I just go to Google and check the inspect element, right click inspect element. Now we can see an option like, see at the top of the file we can see doc type HTML, which indicates it's a HTML file, HTML5. Same with Facebook. Again, inspect element. Here also you can see the same. So by seeing this, what do you mean? You are ready to specify that you are using HTML5. Presently we are learning HTML5, right? So we have to specify this one at every file. In fact, practice time it is optional, but in real time it is recommended to mention this. It's one of the good standards or good practice of programming to always specify the doc type appropriately, either HTML4 doc type or HTML5 doc type, either of these. And next we have deprecated tags. Some tags have been removed in HTML5. That means background, BG color. No, just a minute. This one, yeah. Some tags have been removed. Acronym tag, applet tag, base font, big, center, dir, font, frame, frame set, no frames, strike, TT, BG sound, marquee, and U. These tags have been removed in HTML5. So we have to avoid these tags. These tags already deprecated in HTML4 and removed in HTML5. Deprecated means just not recommended to use. Removed means completely it is no longer supported. It is your own risk if you are using it. System will not provide any guarantee that it works. So the meaning of acronym is just displaying the abbreviation of a particular full form. So in the beginning I told ABBR tag, right? Abbreviation tag. So ABBR tag is recommended, acronym tag is not required. Next, applet tag. Applet tag is used to display a Java applet in the web page. Even Java applets are completely outdated. Nobody wants to prefer this applet in this generation. Many years back it was outdated. So we don't require this applet tag anymore. And even the base font tag is used to specify the default font in the web page. Actually, specification of the font, center, alignment, these are all the aspects of the CSS. So alternatively, we have to use the CSS. Big means font size will be increased. We have to use CSS alternatively. Center means center alignment will come. Again, we have to use CSS. Font means font name, font size, font color can be specified. Again, we have to use CSS alternatively. Frame set means, even no frames means, we can divide the web page into multiple parts by using frame, and we can display different web pages in different parts of the web page. So this frame set, no frames, for security reasons it's not supported. It's not working in the browsers anymore. But alternatively, iframe is safe. Iframe can be recommended. Frame set is not supported. And also, strike tag is used to create a strike or text, right? So it is not recommended, but alternatively we can use CSS. Even TT also a lightweight font. Thickness will be reduced. So for that also we can use CSS. BG sound means background sound can be played. For that we have audio tag newly introduced that we have already learned. And marquee tag will create a scrolling text, continuously scrolling text horizontally, and that is not recommended. So alternatively we have to use some animation related things. For example, we can use CSS3 animations or jQuery. And U, for underline, so it's not recommended to use U tag, but alternatively we can use CSS. So these particular tags, mentioned tags, are not recommended to use at all. So that's all. And actually,
this conference will now be recorded.
Now let us start CSS3. What is CSS3? Let us understand. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It is used to apply the styles to the elements. using HTML we can create elements, but using CSS we can apply the styles to the elements such as fonts, colors, margins, borders, paddings. Any kind of beautification part come under CSS only. In order to make the web page attractive, we have to use CSS. Syntax of CSS is first we have to open the style tag and we have to close it. Optionally, we can specify the type equal to text by CSS, which means that this code whichever present in the middle is not ordinary text, it is a CSS text. To specify this part as a CSS text, we are using type equal to text by CSS. It is optional. Here we can write your CSS code. And in that place, what we can use the CSS style definition here. First, we have to use selector in order to select the element. For example, we are selecting a heading, H1 tag. For that H1 tag, we are applying some style, for example, color, green. So we are applying the green color for the heading. Like that, we can apply different properties like font, letter spacing, different properties. This is the syntax of the CSS style definition. Let us see this in the program. CSS first example .html. Okay, we have to save it in CSS folder. I just created a new folder called CSS and there we are going to store this. This doc type HTML is optional but recommended. For example, we have a heading like hello, and I want to apply some style for this. By default, for every heading you can see blue color. Sorry, for every heading you can see some default font size has been taken automatically. Some default font size. So now I want to change this color. By default black color, I would like to change this. So first style. Optionally, we can specify type equal to text by CSS. It is not compulsory for you, but recommended. So inside the CSS, we are able to use H1. H1 is a selector here, which will select the H1 tag. And for this, we are trying to apply some style. For example, color. The selector is used to select the element. That means we are selecting this H1. After selecting, we are able to apply some style. For example, we are applying the color for this H1. Now we can see red color for the H1. So this is a very simple example on the CSS. Next, we have to learn more about selectors. So what is selector? Selector is a syntax to select the elements. First we have to select the element, then we have to apply the style. So there are so many selectors, around 10 to 15 selectors, but presently we are trying to cover only the two selectors, that is ID selector and tag selector. The ID selector is used to select the element based on ID. In the HTML code, already we have given ID, you remember, in the input tag. Actually, ID not only applicable for input tag but also for any other HTML tags. We can apply any ID for any HTML tag. For example, ID equal to some ID, suppose ABC, and we can access that element based on ID in CSS by using hash. This is the ID selector. Hash followed by ID is nothing but ID selector. Hash is symbol of ID. Next, just a minute, 1 minute. One minute. And also we have tag selector. The tag selector selects all instances of the specific tag. Suppose we have h1. I want to select all h1 tags present in the web page. We have a p tag. I want to select all the p tags in the web page. Like this, to select all instances of the particular tag, we have to go for tag selector. Then the syntax is just a tag name we can give. So if you want to point to a single instance, then go to ID selector. If you want to select all instances, then tag selector. So these two are the selectors I'm providing as of now, but after a few days, so we will see the remaining selectors also. So presently, we have written a selector like h1. It is a tag name, right? So it is called tag selector. If you are using hash, that is called ID selector actually. Let me show an example of ID selector. For example, we have three h1 tags. IDs are different. For example, ABC. In place of ABC, we can give any ID, whatever you wish. We have three IDs, nothing but three different headings. But I would like to apply red color for a first one, green for second one, blue for this one. So at that time exactly ID selector is required. See the problem, if you are giving h1 for all the headings at a time, the color is equal to red. So it is just selecting all instance of the h1 tag. This h1 is nothing but ID selector, tag selector here. But now if you are using hash ABC, which means only for ABC ID we are applying. That means only for h1. In other words, hash ABC will search for ID equal to ABC. Only for that red color is applied, not for others. So we have a possibility of giving different color for different each ID. So just we are applying different colors. So whenever you want to select all instance of the particular tag, use tag selector. To select a single instance of a particular tag by using ID selector, we can do that. Next, their color is a property actually. Like color property, we have several other properties too. Color is just one property. Like that, we have several other properties. Color. Color property specifies the text color. So color colon some color name we can provide. It is a syntax. We can give any color name, whatever you wish. For example, blue, red, anything, any other color we can just provide. And already we have seen this color property already. In this example, just we are applying the color colon some color already we are applying, and we can see the preview of the color automatically here just by typing normal color name, for example, red, red, red. Once you type the appropriate color name, automatically the sample color in a small square shape it will be shown. That's provided by Visual Studio Code. If you are using some different editors, different IDEs or different editors, this will not be shown actually. Next, we have another property called background color in order to specify the background color of the element. We have a property called background color in order to specify the background color of the element. Background color, then we can provide the color name. For example, blue, red, anything. Let's see this. Background color.html. Suppose we are going to take some sort of paragraphs, 4 paragraphs for example, and each of this is having its own ID. ID can be anything. ID is for identification name. It can be anything, and duplicate ID is not allowed. ID must be unique. So hash P1 is ID selector. How do you identify the ID selector? Hash. Hash is nothing but symbol of ID selector. And for that we are applying some background color equal to pink. Now we can see the first paragraph will be appearing pink color background. Same way for every paragraph we can apply different background colors. Like for example orange, anything. We can apply different colors. For each ID we can apply different colors. So this is how to set a background color for the element. Not only for paragraph but also for any other element also we can apply the background color. Even for body tag also we can apply background color. For example for body, background color equal to cyan. Now we can see cyan color for the entire web page. Entire web page is having a cyan color because body tag is representing the complete web page. If you don't give background color for the paragraph, in the paragraph also the same background color will be reflected, but if you apply separate background color it will be separate. Next one, types of colors. So a color can be represented as 3 ways: named colors, hexadecimal colors, and RGB colors. Named colors means a color name can be specified directly: blue, red, green, etc. But the problem is we cannot get exact shade of the color. For example, I want a somewhat lighter green, which is not too dark, which is not too light, some different green. So that exact shade of the color I cannot specify in words. So that's why named color is not recommended in real time. RGB is one of the better options. RGB means there is a RGB formula. You can also search in Google. 16 million colors can be generated based on basic 3 colors: red, green, blue. So most of the TVs, laptops, mobiles are following the same RGB format only, even projectors also. So as per this, red can be 0 to 255, blue can be 0 to 255, and green also can be 0 to 255, minimum and maximum. Here the advantage is we can specify the exact shade of the color. In order to easily generate it, just if you place the mouse pointer on any one color name, automatically select a color. For example, I am selecting this one, and for this selected color, it is generating RGB numbers. Actually, RGB 0, 0, 0 means, which means that no red, no green, no blue, which means it's a black color. No red, no green, no blue is nothing but black color. If you get 255 here, which is the highest, so it's a pure red. If you go 255 here, that is pure green, exact green. If you give 255 here, that is pure blue. And a combination of each of these will generate some different color. For example, this one is equal to cyan color. Okay, green plus blue is equal to cyan. So the word cyan and this number is representationally same. And see, if we just change the number, for example 100 instead of 255, we are getting some different thing. Here 150, again we got something different. Like this, by changing these numbers you can get different colors. But no need to worry about all these numbers, because easily we can simply select the color in the Visual Studio Code. For the selected color, the code, the number will be automatically generated. And the problem of this is the RGB representation becomes a bit lengthy syntax. In order to make it shortcut, we can go for a hexadecimal number. If we just click on this RGB, it will change the format to hexadecimal number. Okay, if we just click here, automatically it will change to hexadecimal number. Now we can see hexadecimal number, that is containing the characters to 0 to 9 plus A to F. 0 to 9 plus A to F. 0 to 9 10 digits plus A to F 6 digits, totally 16 digits. So first two letters representing red, next two letters representing green, next two letters representing blue, red, green, blue. So we can choose any color of your choice, whichever the color you selected, that for that color some hexadecimal number automatically generated, so it will be applied to the appropriate element. If you want to change it, again you will place the mouse pointer on that, no need of clicking, and directly the color box will come, and there you can choose the desired color. Okay, this is all about the types of colors. Hexadecimal number also, just representationally it is looks a bit different, but formula is RGB formula only internally. But in real time, mostly preferred one is hexadecimal number. Okay.
This conference will now be
Let's
recorded.
understand font family. Font family is used to specify the name of the font. For example, Arial, Times New Roman, any font name can be specified by using font family. So here, fontfamily.html. We have created 4 paragraphs, and I want to apply different font. I'm just applying font family. Here we can use a predefined set of fonts, which means that whichever the first possible font, that will be applied. For example, it will try the first one. In case in the current working device, if the first font is not found, then it will try the other one, because there is no guarantee that all the fonts of this system are available in other system. Because if we have different operating systems and different users may install different new fonts. So if the font is not available on the particular machine where the web page is running, the font will not be displayed correctly. That's why we have to provide multiple fonts, a choice of fonts for the browser. So browser will apply the first possible font. It will try the first one. If this is not found, then try the second one, otherwise the third one, and so on. Definitely among these, either of the fonts will be definitely available. So as of our system, it has applied the first one itself. Like this, we can apply anything. So we can either specify the single font like this, or we can specify the multiple font as a choices. Multiple fonts is recommended. Now we can notice the font has been changed. Alternatively, you can just open a notepad and you can verify the list of fonts. Okay, whichever the fonts are available here, either of these fonts also we are able to use. For example, I want this one. I'm just copying and pasting here. Now you can see different fonts. Okay, this is all about the font family. Next one, font size. Font size property specifies the size of the font in the form of pixels. For example, some 20 pixels, 15 pixels, something. Default is 16 pixels. So check the program. We have created four paragraphs and font size. Actually, default font size is like this. By default 16 pixels. We can increase or decrease it. For example, at the least level 1 pixels we can specify. See, this is the 1 pixel font, which is very small, very small. Again, extremely, I think, not visible for you. There is a para one there. Okay, so I'm going to increase it. For example, 10 pixels, 20, 200. Any larger font size also you can specify it. Just up to you. For example, I'm mentioning 12 pixels, 22, 38, 90. So we have given different fonts. We can see the output. This is how to work with the multiple font sizes. Next one, font weight. Font weight property specifies the bold. If you want to apply the bold, we have to use font weight. You have two options, normal and bold. Normal is the default, but we can apply the bold. See, here also we have four paragraphs. I am applying different colors and font size 30 pixels. And for the para 2, I'm just going to apply font weight normal. See, do you have any difference in this? No difference in the para 2. That means normal is the default. That's why there is no difference between normal and default. Okay, because default itself is normal. But the bold, if you mention bold, now we can see para 3 bolded. Okay, if you want to bold, then for that particular element we have to set font weight bold. And also we can specify the font weight differently. For example, font weight can be a number also. For example, 300, 100. Okay, let's increase. For example, 600. We can specify the number as per the requirement. You can specify the exact number. I think the font is not supporting. Let me change the font also. Now font. Okay, let me use either of these only. So 100 to 900 only we can use. For example, this is like thin, extra light. So like this, we can specify different options. Either of these only we can use. We cannot go beyond this. For example, 900 is a bold, but we can specify some 400. See, it is bold, but not too much bold. So we can specify the percentage of the bold by using this number. Next property, font style property. It will apply the italic for the text. Font style is having two options, normal, italic. Normal means the default. Italic means it will apply the italic. So for the first one, I'm just applying font style italic. Now you can notice for the first one, now we can notice para 1 is having italic. Normal is default, no need of writing the normal particularly. Next one, letter spacing. Letter spacing specifies the gap between letters. When we want to increase or decrease the gap between letters, that means between characters, we have to use letter spacing. We have to specify the value in the form of pixels. Okay, for example, I'm just copying and pasting some running text matter from Google. I just go to terms page and copy paste some text matter. Para 1, para 2, para 3. Okay, now we can see different fonts, different paragraphs. Okay, now for this letter spacing, suppose 10 pixels space we are providing. Now you can notice the first paragraph, for every character some 10 pixels gap is maintained. But in case if you give 5 pixels, you can see little bit gap. So if you just give 0 pixels, it has no difference because it is 0 pixels is default, normal. You can also give negative value, for example, minus 5 pixels, which means negative. See the characters overlapping each other. You can notice the characters overlapping each other in the last case. That's because of letter spacing -3. So you can notice 10 pixels means this heavy gap is coming between letters. This is an example of 5 pixels gap. This is no pixel, that is normal. And this is characters overlapping each other by giving minus negative value. Okay, this is about letter spacing. Next, word spacing. Gap between words is represented as word spacing. In between every word, some gap can be specified in the form of pixels by using word spacing. See, for example, normal text is like this, but other text, see, between other and text, there is a lot of space. The space can be increased by using word spacing. Gap between letters is letter spacing. Gap between words is word spacing. Again, here also we have created some paragraphs. So I want to increase the gap between words. Word spacing, for example, 10 pixels. See, gap between words increased. Gap between words increased. Just can compare with this one and this one. Gap between words increased. For example, 15 pixels. Now we can see more gap. We can give any number of pixels as per the requirement. Suppose 50 pixels gap is much more. You can also make it negative. For example, minus 15 pixels. You can see the words are overlapping each other. So based on the requirement, we can specify anything. Next, line height. Line height specifies height of the line of text. Line height can be specified in the form of pixels. For example, there is a line of text, right? So this height is nothing but line height. You can take any text line. For that, height of the line is nothing but line height. If you increase it, it is look like this. Suppose this is one line, this is the second line, this is the third line. Like this, we can increase the height of the each line. Okay, so some more space will come between the lines. Okay, check it. Line height.html. The default line height is what normal. So as per the requirement, it will take the sufficient default height. For example, this line occupies like this internally. Okay, this is the default line height, normal. But now we are trying to provide it differently. For example, we are increasing it. Suppose 60 pixels if we mention. Now we can see more line gap. So each line occupies this much height like this. 60 pixels height. Hundred pixels means even more line height. We can also make it a bit low level value. For example, instead of negative, but I'm giving 20 pixels. Now you can see the lines are overlapping each other, not horizontally, vertically. For example, 5 pixels means even more overlapping. So next one, text decoration. The text decoration property specifies underline, overline, line through, this type of options. It specifies underline, overline, above the line, below the line, below the text, above the text, you can display the line. See like this, none, underline, overline, line through, 4 options. None means normal, underline means below the text, overline means above the text, line through means across the text you will get line. Check it. And one point very clearly try to understand. Don't think like we are going to apply all these properties only for paragraphs, but actually we can apply the same for any properties, any HTML tags. For other tags like a table tag, list tags, hyperlinks, for any other HTML tags we can apply the any property. Okay, so don't think like only for paragraphs. Simply we have to select the particular tag based on ID or based on class name. Then we can write your properties whatever you wish. Practice name, you can try that. Okay, we have 4 paragraphs here. Okay, now we can see text decoration, none. None is the default. No need of specifying, none is the default. There is no difference actually. But now we are going to provide underline. Now we can see underline for the second paragraph. Underline means below the text. Overline means above the text. Line through means across the text. That is called strikeout. Okay, underline, overline, line through. That's all. None is the default. Next property, text transform. This property is used to display uppercase, lowercase, or capitalize. Capitalize means first letter capital. Default is none. None means normal. As it is, the text will be appear. Uppercase means all the text will be converted into uppercase. Lowercase means all the text will be converted into lowercase. Capitalize means first letter capital.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, text transform. None means normal, default. See, there is no difference actually. But we are giving text transform uppercase means, now we can see uppercase. All the text is converted into 100% uppercase automatically. Lowercase means all the text now will be converted into lowercase. Now we can see everything, even occasional uppercase characters also even converted into lowercase. Capitalize means automatically for every word first letter capital. Check the last one, for every word first letter capital. That's all. Next, text align means specifies alignment of the text. specifies alignment of the text like left, right, center, justify alignments. So left alignment look like this. Center alignment, horizontally will be center, right alignment, justify alignment. Check this text align.html. Text align left if you can provide. Default is left, no need of specifying. But now if you give center, for example, no, right, for example, now we can see right alignment. For the para 2, we can see right alignment. Now we are trying to provide center, which means center alignment. Okay, justify for justification alignment. Means both horizontally, vertically, both left side, right side also will be edges are maintained correctly. Okay, you can see the differences. Left alignment, center alignment, right alignment. No. First left alignment, right alignment, center alignment, justify alignment. That's all. Next term. Text indent. Text indent specifies the gap from the first line. Means in case if you want to display the text in this format, like first line of the paragraph should be started a bit wide, then we have to apply text indent. Even though we are applying the text indent for the entire paragraph, it is really maintain the gap only for first line. Okay, not for second line onwards. Generally, one of the grammar rules such that the first line of the paragraph should be started a bit right side. In case if you want to follow that, then only text indent will be useful. Generally, in websites, we don't follow that grammar rule. Maybe by handwriting, we may follow that, but not with the grammar rule, not in the websites. So just for formality, it is provided for us, but it's optional to use in real time. Text indent. Okay, now you can see 4 paragraphs, and now text indent 50 pixels. Now we can see 50 pixels gap is maintained for the first line of the paragraph. Okay, that's all. Next term. Okay, next we have span tag. See, one of the HTML tags is a span tag. The span tag is actually a tag, not a CSS property, but useful for CSS. The span tag represents a specific part of the text. In a big paragraph, a small word or small particular area can be represented as a span. For example, you want to highlight this services. How to highlight that word services? We have to make it as a span tag so that we can apply some style for it. Span tag by default will not apply any style, but we have to apply the style by using span. The P tag is representing the whole paragraph at all. A single word, a set of words represented as a span tag. Let us see an example of that. Okay, for example, I want to highlight this particular part of the text. So for that part of the text, we have to give span. And for every span, some ID also can be given. See, only by placing span, there is no difference. Span tag just logically represent that word, but will not apply any style. We have to apply the style. We have to give some ID for that. And we have to access the ID based on ID selector, that is hash. Then we have to provide some different style. F 6 times F is equal to white color. First you type it, then you can select a different color. Now we can see bold, underline and color is applied only for the particular text. So first, how do you point out the particular text? In order to point out the specific area of the text, we have to use span tag. That is the real purpose behind it. Okay, so that's all about the span tag. So